Monday, March 10th. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, we answer the question, somewhat, what is information technology?
Let's do this.
What a day. I get on my train. I lost my hour, so it's dark again, but that's fine because now it's light out.
The sun is out. It's
Geeknights.
amazing. Yeah. I don't know if we should use all the things that happened today as the opening bit because then we won't have opening bits for the rest of the day.
Let's just rush right through them because tomorrow's going to be the all Smash Brothers, possibly.
All right, so let's see. I wake up. I missed the train.
Wow. By
1 minute. I pulled into the train station as the train was pulling out. If I hadn't brought back the trash cans, I would have made it.
You know, I've only once missed a train.
Yeah.
At least for work.
So I just hung out at the train station, listening to my iPod, whatever.
Yeah. See, I got on my train, and I had my laptop, and I was laying there, and there's this big, fat guy behind the seat I was going to sit in. Like, he was big enough. I'm curious how he got in the door, because he took up 2 whole seats, like, fully.
He might have taken the double doors.
He might have. And, all right, fat guy, no big deal. There's a seat in front of him, so I'll just sit there, and then about 20 minutes in the train ride, I hear a choking sound, followed by...
Oh, that's just wonderful. All right, you can stop that now. You're wasting time on the podcast.
It got worse and worse, and then he, like, fell forward.
Why don't you just move to another car?
Oh, I left the car.
Oh, okay.
And so did a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, if I were a conductor, I would have woken that guy up every time I walked by him.
On the way home, the guy sitting next to me, he wasn't a bad guy, but he smelled like fast food grease, something fierce. I couldn't tell if he worked in a fast food or if he had just eaten it and gotten all over himself. I could not tell.
The economy is definitely not bad enough to where McDonald's workers are commuting in.
No, but I smelled... Man, the economy could never be good enough that McDonald's would commute in. But, yeah, he smelled like fast food all the whole way, and it was kind of sickening.
Well, I think the economy either has to be really, really good or really, really bad for the fast food workers to commute in. There's no middle ground there.
I guess, yeah, because if it was really bad, their meager fast food incomes would be enough to pay for a commute because the commute price would be so low and money would be so valuable. Yeah.
Or at the same time, real estate is still so bad in the city, which even when the city turns to shit, real estate's still crazy there.
Or if the economy was so great, then fast food workers are making $1 bajillion and they could afford to commute.
Or we have Monaco.
Or Monaco.
We could have Monaco.
And
I'll tell you what, if we have Monaco, if I'm not in New York, I'm out of here.
That's true. Anyway. Oh, so what other crazy shit happened? Oh, Smash Brothers came in the mail today.
Yeah, just kidding. As much as we want to play, we're going to hold out at least until we finish freaking Geeknights tonight.
You probably thought you were clever fooling everyone like that, but they can all look at their iPods and see this podcast has plenty of time left.
You know, most people don't. I know how people listen to their iPods, and I know how I listen to my iPod. I just hit play on a playlist, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm just listening. And I don't see my iPod. My iPod is away and possibly locked.
See, I actually, it is away and locked, but if I hear the end of a podcast, I get my iPod out and to switch it up. And usually a lot of podcasts, the ending shit, I don't want to listen to, so I'll get ready. But
what about the stinger?
No, but if a podcast sounded like it was ending prematurely, I would take a look to see if it was a broken MP3 where they fucked up the editing.
Yeah, but you forget that there's that moment, that split second, where they hear that music and they go... Ah, those bastards. And then they hear me say, just kidding, before they can look, and they go, ah.
All right. Also, today at work, my coworkers weren't there, so it was like, there's only 4 tech workers. So it was me and the boss, and that was it. And we're just kind of sitting there like, yep.
A few people didn't handle the DST transition so well.
No.
I called a lot of customers and people to say, hey, are you going to connect an hour from now? as I'm guessing. And they're like, oh, yeah.
Oops.
Yeah. Also, a lot of people just didn't seem to have enough sleep today.
NTP.
NTP doesn't solve that. NTP just sets the clock. Your computer had better handle the time zone.
Yeah, that's right. You got to set Etsy local time.
Yeah.
To the right symbolic link.
Yes, you do. And also, what if you have some demons or systems that think in GMT, which a lot of people do?
You gotta have Etsy local time set to the right thing, so it
No,
subtracts.
what if everything is in GMT, straight up, where there is no daylight savings time? You need to be aware of that and write around that in your software, which a lot of people don't.
Anyway.
Granted, everything should be in GMT. Computers shouldn't have to care what time it is, but I digress.
Well, that's the way that all my computers are. Is that, well, I guess except for my desktop because it has to reboot to Windows, and Windows is stupid as shit. But all my Linux-only computers, the hardware clock is in GMT, and the operating system knows what time zone I'm in, and it interpolates for any clock, visualizing
See, but I even
programs.
keep logs and everything. I like to have everything as possible in GMT.
Oh yeah, definitely. But no, for the only time it should translate to a time zone is when someone has to look at the time in, say, the clock applet in the bar.
Only when a human needs to see the time.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, and the governor is in trouble.
Oh yeah, our man Spitzer. It amazes me just how many people can be so corrupt in our government. I mean,
look, the governor. I lived in Connecticut. Governor corrupt. Governor Rowland was corrupt, and he went to jail. Right. Let's see. In New Jersey, he was gay, so he resigned. That's not really
wasn't
corrupt,
corruption.
but it's still the governor got in trouble. New York, governor, prostitution, and we should do a Thursday on prostitution.
We should do a Thursday on governors.
That too, but governor in trouble.
I don't think a lot of you know.
Three connecting states, governors in trouble.
I'm going to put forth a statement. I don't think a lot of our listeners in the U.S. actually know what the governor's duties are.
I don't think they know either. And you know what? I was thinking about this.
I'm curious. Answer this in the forum. How many of you who live in the United States, without looking it up, know who your governor is? That's all I want to ask.
Yeah. Here's the thing I really want to know. As I was trying to think, right? We have listeners that are international, right? And international listeners probably know about the president of the United States and whatever. They may even know about the Congress. They might know states have governors, but like Germany has states, right? And there must be local, governance for the states of Germany or the states of France
if you're asking
or the provinces of Canada.
If you're asking people to tell us about their local or federalized government structure, there's something called Wikipedia.
No. I'm wondering, right? It's like I could not name a single who's the person in charge of Alberta? I have no clue. The person in charge of Ontario,
I
idea.
think it's obvious, Scott. You really don't know the person in charge of Alberta? You honestly don't?
What? There's someone who's like the equivalent of governor of Alberta?
Obviously, it's Prince Albert.
No, it's not funny. It's just stupid.
I think that's funny.
No, it's not. But they probably don't.
Prince Albert in a
people
can?
in other countries probably have no fucking clue unless they're really smart or they pay really close attention about the lower levels of the state and town government.
And I don't think it's that
States.
relevant, to be honest.
No, but I think it's really interesting, and now I kind of want to know how local and state governments work in other countries.
Wikipedia.
And I want them to know about ours.
Wikipedia.
Yeah, but
Everybody
Wikipedia
go read some Wikipedia.
won't be that complete. Wikipedia is U.S. central more so.
Go read the Wikipedia on Germany.
Well, yeah, but to get the really detailed information, I'd have to read the Wikipedia that's written in German. There'd be a lot more.
Not really.
There'd be a lot more information in that one than there would be.
I suggest you go read, because most Wikipedias for countries that people care enough about to write an article about tend to have an entirely separate page dedicated solely to the minutia of their governmental structures.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I think all the information is there.
I think that that level of information will be there, but if I were to say look up information about like a specific state and a specific town and like what the situation is there right now, I think that would be...
Of course not, because that shouldn't even be in Wikipedia.
Well, a lot of this stuff's in there for the U.S. in Wikipedia.
Not really.
There's pages for like every town in the United States and who's the mayor. And
you realize there's pages for most of the places in France and Britain, too.
I'll have to go take a look then. That'd be interesting. Anyway.
But yeah, there's a bunch of news, and I'll talk about this real briefly because so little needs to be said. But apparently, a lawmaker, Tim Couch, in a state somewhere, some state that doesn't matter at all, has decided that the best way to fix the problems that he is facing in the world today and that people are facing is to ban anonymity on the internet. And all I want to say is good luck, sir, with that. Good luck to you, sir.
Yeah, I don't even know where to begin on that one.
Like, it's very rare that a statement by a person is able to so succinctly and so clearly convey unto me the fact that they have no concept of what the internet is.
We should ban steering wheels on cars. No steering wheels on the cars.
Never used a computer in their lives.
We should ban wings on airplanes. The wings are causing all the trouble.
Of course, he says enforcing this bill, if it becomes law, would be a challenge.
Well, okay, so he's not 100% moron. He's just 99.9% moron.
This is crazy. Quote, if the bill becomes law, the website operator, so I guess this only affects website operators in Kentucky, would have to pay if someone was allowed to post information anonymously on their site. The fine would be $500 for a first offense and $1,000 for each offense after that.
So basically, why doesn't he? That's the same thing as writing a law saying we don't want anyone to host websites in Kentucky.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's also illegal to post anything online. So if you live in Kentucky and you post on Slashdot, you're breaking the law.
Wait a minute. But if you're anonymous and you're in Kentucky, how the fuck will they know?
Well, they'll probably try to subpoena Slashdot for IP addresses.
So wait, they're going to subpoena Slashdot and say, give us the IP addresses of every anonymous poster, and we're going to look and see if any of them are in Kentucky.
Well, no.
That's not going to fly.
They'd be tricky. What they'd probably do is just ban any sort of business interactions with Slashdot, which is fine because I don't think there's any company in Kentucky that would bother advertising on Slashdot.
Man, I hope they do this because it'd be so cool to drive through Kentucky in the future. It'd be like Jetson's house, caveman, log cabin, Jetson's house when you come back out on the other side.
This is so ludicrous that it's not even worth discussing. Banning anonymity on the internet is like banning spitting in a dark room.
Okay.
Anyway, so what do you got?
So, I hate the fake medicines a lot. You hate the fake medicines?
Yeah. The only difference between the two of us is that Scott will not shop at the local hippie market because while the local hippie market is the only store in the area that has a lot of really good stuff, it also sells made-up fake dangerous medicine.
Pretty much. Well, it's the opposite of dangerous. It does nothing. It's
dangerous from other perspectives.
Yeah, it is.
But the only difference is that I will go there, but I will get into arguments with people and generally be a cock while I'm there, and I'll feel dirty the whole time. But it's the only place I can buy my guava juice.
You can buy guava juice across the river at the other place.
Yes, across the river.
Can't you buy guava juice in the city?
And then carry it home?
Yeah, why not? I carry stuff to the city. I might as well carry it home.
That's not worth it.
Anyway, so...
you know how I get away with it? I buy small amounts with my credit card.
Something I hate worse, I don't know, hate equally to fake medicine, is when people are putting down real medicine. Like those people who say don't take vaccines, they'll give you autism, which is complete bullshit.
I think we can sum this up real quick in case we have a lot of new listeners, so in case you're not up to speed. One, thimerosal isn't even used in fucking vaccines anymore in the US, so it doesn't even matter. Two, it doesn't cause autism. Three, vaccines in general do not cause autism. Period.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't notice, right? I mean, I had a biology teacher once in 11th grade, and he was like, oh, you don't need vaccines, it'll be all right, right? And
wow, that guy shouldn't be a biology teacher.
Yeah, and at the time, it kind of made a little bit of sense, because from what I learned in biology class, if a virus comes in, your body will make antibodies, whatever, right? And he was like, oh, you don't need to take a flu vaccine. Just take some, nearly dead flu and just kind of swab them on the back of your throat, and then your body will build up.
That's a vaccine.
Exactly.
What the?
And it was only, a couple years later that I realized, okay. But anyway, so yeah, if you don't notice, right? And also the other argument that biology teacher used to make was, back in my day when the polio vaccine was coming out, kids would get the vaccine and then they would still get polio. Blah. So anyway,
I have a hyphenated word to respond to that. That is herd immunity.
Right. So if you don't realize, right, way back before the polio vaccine, there was a lot of polio. And now, after the polio vaccine... where's the polio?
I don't know. Maybe we should look for it.
Before MMR, kids used to get measles.
You know what?
And
measles
mumps and rubella.
I'll tell you this. Measles sucks. Mumps sucks. Rubella, not cool.
But you know what? Now, who gets measles? Who gets mumps? Who gets rubella? At least in the United States, almost nobody.
Yeah,
It used to be
You know what?
you would get it like you would get the flu or the cold all the fucking time. But now, no, it's gone.
Yeah, tetanus shots? What about diphtheria? Diphtheria is actually really dangerous to a lot of kids. But no, you don't get diphtheria because you get your tetanus diphtheria shot.
That's right. But you know what? Now, for anyone who doesn't believe in fucking vaccines and their awesomeness, right?
I'm sure we don't need to. I mean, I guess we're preaching to the choir now.
Yes. Because anyone who disagrees probably stop listening because they're a moron anyway.
Which is good. I don't want those people listening to my show.
Yeah, if you don't believe something like that that's in the past that, oh, maybe it was something else, you don't know because you're a moron. Here's an inarguable proof. The vaccines are the real deal. Uganda, right? Kids were getting meningitis left and right. Like 5,000 kids a year would die from this horrible meningitis. And if you don't know about meningitis is like the worst thing ever.
There are two forms of meningitis, effectively, in terms of how what they can do to you. There's viral meningitis.
Die really quick and die even quicker.
Well, actually, no, viral meningitis and bacterial meningitis. And actually, my stepdad had viral meningitis. It's not that bad.
It's pretty bad.
Most forms of bacterial, because remember, it's an infection of the meninges. If you don't know what meninges are, I suggest get yonder to yon Wikipedia. If there's bacteria growing in your meninges,
you're serious shit.
You're going to die.
You need those meninges. But anyway.
I think you need the things that are in anyway.
Or anyway, so there was mad meningitis going down in Uganda, right? So they got this vaccine. This vaccine has existed since 1991, right? But it cost $7 at the price to, that was the poor country price, was $7, which is 7 times as much as some other vaccines that they could get. So they, through their magic works, the kind of works that Bill Clinton are doing, people like Bill Clinton are doing, they got the price down to $1. And they helped prevent 2.3 million deaths since the year 2000.
That's closing in on Norman Borlaug right there.
I know, right? Uganda, people dying of meningitis. Insert vaccine, no more meningitis. Huh. Now, does it maybe work?
Now, to the crazy people who argue that, it protects you from those diseases, but it also causes autism, I would wager that autism rates in Uganda are not going to change.
No, I don't think so.
Except perhaps that maybe a percentage of children who might have died of meningitis before they had the chance to even manifest their autism will now manifest their autism. But that's not... anyway.
So here's the thing, right? I'm sure that in Uganda they had plenty of witch doctoring. Maybe homeopathies, maybe acupunctures. Who knows? They probably had some bullshit medicine. You know what? They had that. They've had that because that's the argument people always make, right? This acupuncture has been around for millions of years. Therefore, it's so old and ancient, it must be right. Because anything old is right. Something new is wrong.
Oh, speaking of which, acupuncture, reflexology, and chiropractic are bullshit. But,
and homeopathy.
Yes, but I'm assuming you know that.
You're right. Anyway, in Uganda, they've had some sort of fake medicine probably for a very long time. And you know what? The meningitis didn't stop until the real medicine came.
Ooh, scary,
real medicine is real. Fake medicine is fake. Shut the fuck up.
The problem is, I don't think anyone who needs to hear that message is listening to Geeknights, let alone on the internet.
No, I don't think so. But even if one person has learned, it'll be enough.
So, right along with that, since my news was such a cop-out, I couldn't ignore the stupidity.
You do the Facebook news or what?
I got a news here that is kind of interesting, actually. Now, the article to which this links includes a video. Do not...
Oh, this one. Okay.
Watch this video. The video is absolutely just stupid.
I didn't watch the video. I just read the article, which is disappointingly short.
Yes, the article's dumb. The video's dumb. But it's one of those... The article doesn't matter. What matters is the discussion that is generated.
I think you'll make a good Thursday episode, and we should hang on to it.
Oh, maybe we will, but I'll introduce it then. I'll do 2 half newses. I think that works. So the question raised is, should scientists date people who believe in astrology?
The short answer, right?
No.
Well, here's my short answer, right? Every individual human being can date whoever the fuck they want. And here's my other answer. I wouldn't.
Well, you see, it's actually... I don't know how complicated of an issue it is, because the way I look at it, there's arguments for... I'll read the rest of this here. Wired Science asks, should scientists date people who believe in astrology? Apparently, the argument is quite complex. Astrology is sort of a
get complex.
flawed mental shortcut for understanding the world. That's an understatement.
That's quite an understatement.
But so is disregarding someone because of their spiritual beliefs. That does not follow. That's not quite a anyway. False premise possibly. Anyway, women are inundated with astrological nonsense from fashion magazines.
Sexism.
So it is normative for them to believe it, even if they otherwise are highly logical. That's
sexism.
That takes sexism to a new level there.
I don't know. I think that's about on the same level I've seen it everywhere else.
And the last thing, smart people can convince themselves of silly things. Now, there is an interesting phenomenon whereby sometimes people who are very smart will defend a wrong idea long after they would have, in a vacuum, already been convinced that the idea was wrong because of misplaced pride and because a lot of times smart people are able to find evidence and put forth their arguments eloquently in order to kind of hold out longer. Like, you might be wrong, but you might be smart enough to convince people who are dumber than you that you're right anyway longer until someone smart sets you right.
There's also the problem of, like, this is where we're going to start doing the whole episode on it, that there are people who are very intelligent, they're very knowledgeable about the world, and they're very good at, math or other things, right, or writing or whatever, and they're very intelligent, smart people, but they don't have the skeptical, scientific, evidence is required or I will believe nothing viewpoint of the world, which is the only correct sort of viewpoint to have to be completely rational, and thus they can convince themselves of irrational things.
Now, I mean, I take issue with almost every sentence in this little summary here. I mean, astrology is a flawed mental shortcut for understanding the world. Astrology, saying it's a flawed mental shortcut, goes a step beyond. It's just outright sham. It's nothing. It never was anything. It's just
astrology is fantasy. That's it. That's just all there is to it. It's completely made up nothing.
And the whole women thing, I don't even want to touch that because that's just
yeah, but, I clicked on the link because the link was just like, should scientists date an astrologer? And I was like, oh, that's not a bad article. I'll read that. And then the article was so bad and disappointing and short. I was like,
But so is disregarding someone because of their spiritual beliefs. Now, there's a real issue here with conflating ideas, and spirituality and philosophy and religion are three very different things.
And people, have different definitions of them and such, and you sort of have to, before you discuss them with someone, decide what the definitions are going to use are.
Because I've noticed something. There are a lot of people who are very spiritual, but at the same time do not hold any irrational beliefs at all. And there are a lot of people who, when confronted with an atheist or someone who believes in science, will make an argument along the lines of, oh, you say there's nothing out there. There can't be anything out there but this on Earth, for what we've seen, that nothing could possibly exist, because da-da-da-da-da. But that's just because they're conflating the terms. Just because I haven't observed something doesn't mean it's not out there or something like that. It just means I haven't observed it there, and no one I've ever met or ever read of or ever experienced has ever observed it, and there's no record of observing it. Logically, I cannot believe that it exists, and I can logically assume that it probably does not exist, but that does not discount outright that it does not exist, but a rational person will assume that it does not exist unless presented with other evidence.
Yes, this is why we should do a whole episode on this. I think we should,
Yeah, it's kind of the idea that denouncing religion in and of itself is not denouncing philosophy.
I think
even
it is
spirituality.
I think basically it goes back to our old point of, while discriminating against anyone seems wrong, and in many cases is wrong, but it depends on why you discriminate against the person. If I discriminate against someone because they're a psycho killer, that's okay. If I discriminate against someone because they believe the tooth fairy is real, that's okay.
If I discriminate against someone because they're black, whoa now, that's trouble.
Yeah, that's not okay,
But, it's kind of like...
if I discriminate against someone who's a Jew because they were born of Jewish parents and they have a Jewish culture, that's not okay. If I discriminated against someone because they believe in a magical sky man and they treat their wife poorly, that is okay. Those, the thing is they both, you could put Jew on both of those things, but they're two different...
Well, that's Penn's thing.
This is where you run into trouble, you see.
We need a word for secular Jew as opposed to religious Jew.
We need a word in general for secular kinds of things,
Yeah, like a religious Muslim cultural Muslim. Big difference.
Yeah, I mean, there are people who are just Irish. They just love Ireland and they like to drink and they like leprechauns.
Wow, way to go, Scott.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm throwing in my little funniness there, but they're not like super Catholics, like, could be most Irish type people are. Of course, there's also the Protestant Irish, and that is why they have wars and things. And not getting into that because I don't know enough about it to say more.
I could speak volumes.
I just get into trouble.
For many reasons, it was actually a hot issue in Detroit, and I'm well versed in the Irish trouble.
I'm only slightly versed, so let us pass that on and continue to things of the day.
Well, I'll end on this because this is the important thing I want to get out of this here. When it comes to disregarding it, people seem to try to make spiritual or religious beliefs somehow different from other kinds of beliefs or other kinds of assertions. And
I can't go there.
I'm of the mind that any idea, once an idea is put forth into the world, into the marketplace of ideas, if someone states an idea, that idea is now, no matter who said it, no matter what backing it has, subject to the scrutiny of the world and subject to all the verbal or written criticism that any human being can muster. And if someone is not willing to deal with that sort of criticism or that sort of critique, then they really shouldn't be putting forth the idea and then getting in a huff when people possibly disrespect or shoot down or otherwise criticize the idea.
Yep. All ideas are created equal. If your idea can't stand up on its own, then it can't stand up.
But
no
you know what?
idea is sacred.
But to get to I'm done now. This is it. 'Cause this is the easy way. It's real easy to get into the whole, well, what about philosophical? What about blah? It's very, very, very simple to answer this question if you get into the specific questions instead of the general questions. Would I ever date or even associate with someone who actually believed in astrology? No. Hell no. I wouldn't even respect you.
Exactly.
Astrology is BS, and if you believe in it, I hate you.
Uh-oh, we're going to get nasty letters from the astrology listeners.
Anyway, things of the day. I'd really like to talk about this as a whole show. It's almost, I love to see a documentary.
Today's is loaded with whole shows, isn't it?
But I'll just briefly, in case anyone missed this on Slashdot, I want to direct your attention to the Cuban memory stick underground. Very simply, the idea here is that Cuba kind of repressed, difficult to get information, censorship around, a lot of people try to make Cuba out to be this socialist paradise. And regardless of the reasons for Cuba being the way it is, because they're largely the United States' fault, it remains that Cuba is not a very nice place to live, and Cuba has serious problems.
The nicest thing about Cuba is the weather, pretty much.
Yeah, and the health system is okay, but don't pretend it's this wonderful, anyway.
Cuba's actually a lot nicer for tourists than it is for people living there. And the problem is tourists come there and it's kind of nice, but they don't realize a lot of the things tourists get are, not allowed for normal citizens.
Yep, but anyway, so the Cuban memory stick underground refers to the fact that there is now a trade. This is like SneakerNet times a million. In USB sticks filled with websites, information, and pretty much anything they can get from the outside world. People smuggle them in and ship them in. They copy them and pass them around. And this is utterly, utterly fascinating to me.
That's so awesome. They can't get the internet, so someone copies a bunch of websites onto, flash memory sticks, and then they share them all. That's so cool.
It gives me an idea.
What computers are they using? Because no one's sending them computers, right?
You can get a hold of computers.
Yeah, they got computers with USB. I mean,
yeah.
How long is it? But the embargo's been going on how long? How what kind of
things get smuggled in, and there are nations that are not embargoing Cuba.
I guess, but yeah.
The thing is, it's easier to get crappy old computers than it is to get internet access, than it is to get around the censors.
I want to know what the gaming scene is, the video gaming scene is like in Cuba.
I'll bet there's a lot of old Sega Genesises down there.
I bet there's something going on there, and I want in on that action because there's probably people who are rocking a Street Fighter 2 machine somewhere in Cuba. And
this gives me an idea. I'd kind of like to set up some sort of charitable gray market charity organization where we basically put information on memory sticks and airdrop them in places like Afghanistan and China.
Oh, we do better with hard drives, I think, mate.
Yes, hard drives coming from the sky. That will end well.
little tiny, those little parachutes with the Army man? You'd buy them in the 25-cent, machine. They come in a little bubble.
Yes.
We could just tie the USB stick to that with a little parachute.
I used to put those on model rockets. I never saw those army men again.
I used to just throw them off like out of my window or whatever. And they'd go down and they would be stuck in a bush and I'd get them out and they don't be one-time use.
Now you got to wrap that thing anyway.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass.
What do you got?
Oh, right. Things of the day. So when I was a kid, I played Legos. You play Legos?
Legos were like the best thing ever. In fact, the only reason I'm still doing Geek Nights is because my mom has never shipped me all my Legos.
Anyway, so when I was a kid, I thought I was so cool. In the days before the internet, I wrote a letter to Lego because I was mostly playing with my castle Legos because I like the castles, which is still the best Legos, right? I had my Robin Hoods and I had the Black Knights, and they go, ha ha. Anyway, I was playing my Legos, and I said, you know what would be cool? If they had, like, race car Legos. And, of course, they did have race car Legos, but I was stupid, and I was a little punk kid in, like, elementary school. And I said, you know what else would be cool if they had Army Man Legos, which they did not have, and they still do not have Army Man Legos.
That kind of makes sense.
Yeah, because they don't like the violence and such, right?
Unless the violence is directed at pirates or spacemen.
So I wrote a letter to Lego, and I was like, you should make race car Legos and Army Man Legos. And they just sent me back, and they were like, thanks for your ideas, but we can't use your ideas, blah. And I was like, I was a punk kid. I was like, fuck you. And there still are no Army Man Legos, and there always were race car Legos, like one of the first Lego. I was dumb.
Plus, I mean, no violence in Legos. I'm sure all of you out there, whenever you needed to deal with dissidents, you made the gallows out of that whip.
Yeah, I know, right? Anyway, there's a website, brickarms.com, and you know what they sell?
Illegal arms for Lego men.
Pretty much, it is like the black market of Lego pieces. They got, like, you can make terrorists. They got, like, all different kinds of guns. Like, they got MP5s, they got TMPs, they got P90s, they got FAMAS, they got, sniper rifles, they got grenades. They got, like, bunches of grenades that you can, like, bunch up on the front of a Lego guy. They got, like, scary German Nazi soldiers with dogs.
Do they have bandoliers?
I don't know if they have there's guys with the guys have bandoliers like painted on their body parts.
I want like a bandolier, much like that arrow sheath that I can put on a Lego man.
But if you're looking for like some military Lego action, brickarms.com has like the full loadout. Let me read some of these to you. Brick Arms Bandit, he looks like a terrorist. Colonel Marine, oh, it's some girl who's like a Marine. Spy Bond, oh, James Bond. World War II German SS Major. World War II German Colonel. World War II German Soldier Panzer Green. There's a lot of Legos going on here. And if you like the militaries, this is where your Legos are at, and you could buy it up. And I think they have a deal like where every time you buy something, you get a free gun. Ooh, and RPGs, not bad.
Do they shoot?
No,
I know that, of course
they're just plastic RPGs that a Lego guy can hold in his hand, and they come in dark blue-gray, medium gray, silver metallic, and I see some gold in there. But
silver metallic, not bad.
Yeah, but there's also I think that might be some mispainted ones that look gold. Who knows?
So anyway, this won't be super long because a lot of the topics I have to bring up in this series are very, very detailed. So
time for Scott to relax.
I kind of just want to give a basic overview. But as we said last week, Scott and I are going to, for a while now, alternate between talking about our respective majors, computer science and information technology. And Scott spent much of last week describing, well, last Monday at least, talking about what computer science and programming and all those things really were. So to dispel the myths, the legends, and everything that you thought you knew about information technology, here we go. Because you see, IT is actually a super new degree, a super new program. IT did not exist as it does today in this world until very recently. In fact, the first information technology program at a real university with a bachelor's that was accredited was formed in 1991 by, of all places, the Rochester Institute of Technology, my alma mater. It turns out, I think I've mentioned this before, that I actually studied IT at the first and foremost IT school in the world.
I studied CS at the first and foremost IT school in the world.
But actually, for computer science, our IT was in the first, I think, 5 universities to have a computer science bachelor's.
Something like that.
Back in the 70s.
Something like that.
So, yeah, our IT is, it's not super known outside of its circles, but if you're a young punk kid and you're thinking about information technology...
And you got a lot of money.
You pretty much, or you can get a scholarship. If you're a National Merit Scholar, you realize they'll give you a full ride.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, RIT is the IT school. IT began there, and IT is on the bleeding edge there. So what is information technology? Because it's actually kind of complicated, and since it's a new degree, we've had computers and we've had IT
Relatively
departments
new.
for a long time. So how come there weren't? Where were people getting these jobs? How were people doing these jobs if there were no IT?
They were
degrees?
learning on the job. They were learning at home.
Well, the answer is that the majority of computer workers, pretty much from the beginning of computing until now, and even now, it really hasn't changed much yet, were untrained people who learned as they went, had no actual formal training in computers or IT or anything like that. And that is the cause behind the majority of the kind of clusterfucks of computing that exist today. You see, when computers they first existed, there wasn't that much to know about computers. So computer science kind of encompassed everything that computers were. And then as time went on, computers got too complicated. I mean, computers as a physical thing became so complex that you could devote your entire bachelor's or even master's study to just how computers worked physically, how they were put together, electronics, and that is computer engineering. And then there were people, and so that kind of split off. And then you had computer science, which was everything else. But as time went on, I'm going to skip over a lot of this, but bit by bit, every sort of major, every sort of discipline, everything that could be split off has been bit by bit being split off from computer science. Computer science itself split off. Computer science is now effectively the art of programming, but even that is split into computer science and software engineering. And all these kinds of specialties are branching out from the core, and it's come to the point that information technology is the glue that connects everything together. IT is, on one hand, the catch-all for anything and everything related to computers that does not have its own specialist discipline. And more importantly, information technology is the degree, the program, the idea, the study, the field of practice that kind of has the overview, that knows enough about every single discipline to be able to manage computer environments. I mean, say you've got a company and you want to write some software, you want to do something cool. All right, you got to hire some CS guys to actually write your software, maybe some software engineering guys to kind of manage the software projects. But what about your infrastructure? You don't want the same people writing your code managing your routers. I mean, most people who
Actually,
write code,
a lot of companies, that's exactly what happens.
and that is not a
Because
good thing.
they can only hire one or two computer guys, and they need both, so they get someone who has more than one skill set.
Yes, the problem is that usually does not work very well, except in very, very small environments.
Well, even if it works well, the person, that usually means that the person who is doing all that work is overworked.
And a lot of companies even have a lot of misunderstandings as to what information technology is. A lot of big companies look at it as almost a buzzword. Yep, we leverage our IT synergy to utilize our efficiency, and that sort of bullshit. Or even worse, a lot of companies seem to think that, they have problems in their company. And it's easy to say, oh, those problems can be solved by technology, which is usually true. Let's just get an IT department and everything will go away. And that doesn't work at all. Because IT, basically all IT does in a company, in any sort of real working environment, is make sure that all of the technology that is being used by a company or by an organization is used effectively and as to the fullness that it can be used. That is, in a nutshell, all that IT is. All IT exists to do is make sure that you're using the technology you have as best you can, and also to recommend new technology, and then, once that is implemented, to use it effectively. That seems really simple. Doesn't that seem simple?
No, actually, I know it's not simple because unless your company is one dude with one computer, it's going to be, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on.
Well, see, this is where the problem is. Most of the workforce in the world today in the information technology industry do not have information technology degrees. People like me are the vast, vast minority in the workforce. And as a result, we have a lot of these sort of IT organizations that aren't really doing what IT should be doing. A lot of times they'll call it the IT department, but then the IT department is full of people writing code and full of people writing the software that runs the business, or full of people just doing all the sort of computery geeky stuff that the CFO and the CEO don't really understand. So they lump it over into the IT department. And really, you've kind of got to have a an idea of what IT is, and then you've got to actually organize your stuff. I mean, I'm trying to not get into the details here. That's why it might sound like I'm dancing around a lot of issues. That's because I'm very purposely dancing around a lot of issues.
Dance for me.
But you've got to understand that IT is not a revenue-generating center. Computer science in a company should be a revenue-generating center.
It could be.
It should be. Because,
well, if you're selling the software, if you're just using the software for yourself, maybe not.
But even then, if you're writing software for yourself, most likely you would have been better served by having an IT department that seeks out pre-existing solutions and then implements them for you.
Unless there is no pre-existing solution.
And in which case, then you would probably have an IT department that would hire people in a small CS development environment to write that software, but technically the IT department would manage it. The IT department would put in the feature requests, the bug fixes, all that, and the CS department should primarily be implementation, maybe headed up by a software engineer who manages all of that and provides the interface for the IT department. But there's a lot of companies that end up having this sort of cross relationship where IT people talk directly to CS people who then go over the software engineer's head, and all these interconnections kind of really make things difficult to manage. And thus, I'm going to get into what IT is directly, because here are all the things that IT is. IT is network monitoring. IT is managing the development of the software that you use, but not the software that makes your business go necessarily, or that you were selling. IT is security, all security, computer security, software security, network security. IT is technology workflow management. You know, I said you don't want all these connections, people talking to people, especially once you get into a larger organization. What IT does is it sets up the workflows and manages the workflows using technology so that, like, say you have people who write software for your company, right? And then you have people who use that software. And then you have people who manage both sides of those people. The IT person's job is to set up technology like wikis or knowledge bases or ticketing systems or workflow systems or like purchase asset management change tracking systems to kind of control all of these workflows and track all of these workflows so that everyone can get their job done and people aren't forced to do work that could be done better by someone else. Like, I'm a CS guy and I'm writing my code. I shouldn't need to prioritize which bug fixes are important and which bug fixes aren't. That's the software engineer's job. The software engineer shouldn't have to guess at what's important and what's not important to the business. The IT department, and through them, all the other departments of the company, there should be some sort of process for managing that. And as you can see, I could go on and on. IT is everything. IT is both the simplest and the most complex part of an organization. IT is the most misunderstood part of any organization. And almost no one in the world is trained in what IT actually is. So you can see where there might be problems.
Maybe.
So what I want to do in my coming shows is I'm going to break IT up into as tiny chunks as I can and talk about them in as much detail as I think you can handle. This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Odeo. Just click the link that says Send Me an Odeo on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.